ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lil Larry and the Coach podcast, episode 4 on the season. We have the GM with us here today, TJ Lyons.
Howdy, howdy.
And we, as always, have to give a shout out to our boy, Joshua Morrison for making Lil Larry and the Coach soundtrack, Steamhammer 62. So let's introduce it and get the show started.
We're gonna talk about sports. Little Larry and the Coach. We're gonna talk about sports. Little Larry and the Coach. We're gonna talk about sports. Things like chicken wings. It's Little Larry and the Coach.
All right. So, where do you want to start? I think, obviously, I want to start with the NFL because that's the big news of the day, right?
Multiple newses.
Multiple newses.
Yeah.
So, first off, the one that impacts Lil Larry the most is Ben Roethlisberger coming out of the game. And we're losing TJ Lyons due to poor connection. But we're losing... the Pittsburgh Steelers are losing Ben Roethlisberger because of I'm guessing Tommy John surgery. I don't know if it's been officially announced yet, but basically he is out for the season, which is not good for the Steelers at all, but I also think that it's good for the Steelers because it's going to give us an opportunity to see what Mason Rudolph is made of, what that third-round draft pick that we spent on is made of. I know that a lot of people were high on him coming in to the NFL. I think they gave him a year to learn under Big Ben. I think he's improved a lot. Whether or not he's any good, that's yet to be seen. Whether or not the Steelers are any good is yet to be seen. But I went ahead and I'll throw some stats at you. So a team that starts off the season 0-2 has a 12% chance of making the playoffs in the NFL. A team that starts off 0-3 has a 2.7% chance to make the playoffs. So Steelers are already in a deep hole, losing their starting quarterback. Luckily, not losing their running back for extended period of time, but we're going to see what we could have in this in a young quarterback and hopefully kind of ride him. I don't have to look back too far in the past where there was a young Ben Roethlisberger that took over for Tommy Maddox when Tommy Maddox went out with Tommy John surgery.
Yep.
So, what do you have to weigh in on about this?
Obviously, big news. That's for sure coming out of the AFC North on that. And I mean, even if the Brownies don't win tonight, I mean we're in trouble because the Ravens.
It's already going to be a 4-game lead.
Yeah, I mean they've already. I mean they've padded that lead immediately, winning yesterday. So they've looked pretty good. So obviously the Brownies can't drop one tonight and go to 0-2 as well.
But what?
And let the Ravens run away with it.
Though the Ravens faced the Miami Dolphins, who
two mediocres. Yeah.
Mediocre. Miami Dolphins are a complete clown show of the NFL. It's an absolute
And then they
joke.
played the Cardinals.
And then they played the Cardinals, who's at least competitive, but they're not.
But they're in a real building stage.
Yeah. So I mean, so you have an established team with a young quarterback in the Ravens, playing two teams that literally don't even know what the NFL is like yet.
Yeah. And even with Big Ben going down, I still believe the AFC North goes through Pittsburgh. There's other guys around that team that can step up, and Ben's going to be around the team and the facility, so you'll have those guys ready to go, and just his leadership, I think, is going to keep Pittsburgh into this mix.
And
could be very dangerous down the stretch.
Leadership, and so here's his
Now.
opportunity. Yeah, here's definitely his
it.
opportunity. If the team continues to fall apart, I mean, we've played two good teams. Let's be honest. It's we've played New England.
It was a brutal start.
New England is probably a Super Bowl contender, if not the Super Bowl favorite again. And then you have Seattle Seahawks, who probably will come out of the West as the NFC champion.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you can't say much about the Steelers right now with those two teams, but now, I mean, they got their work cut out for them now, and Mason's going to be in there. So
next week they have the 49ers.
This was Randy's pick. I know a couple years ago when he was talking about Mason and stuff, this was his guy that he wanted to take over for Ben when that time came. So
well, here's
Randy's
his
pick, and here's his opportunity to show what he can do. And I mean, just coming in that end of the game yesterday, I mean, he showed a lot of moving the ball down the field, so it almost made the comeback.
So a couple stats about that. So in the second half, he played the whole second half. Ben came out of the last drive of the first half. So second half was all Mason Rudolph. He had an early interception. 100% wasn't his fault. It was tied to Dante Moncrief, who I'm pretty sure leads the NFL in drop passes for all of last season, just based off these first two games. The ball was right on the target, hit him right in the hands, hit him right in the helmet, bounced up in the air, and got picked off. 100% wasn't his fault. After that, Mason Rudolph went 12 for 18 for 112 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and did not check down the ball once. So definitely moved the ball and actually gave a little life to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just unfortunately didn't have enough to push it over the edge, which kind of segues me into the Oshkosh football. Let's talk about that before. I know you're biting at the teeth to talk about the Brownies tonight, but let's talk about the Oshkosh Titans, right? So
yeah,
we mentioned a spark of energy in the quarterback play. You know, Ben comes out, they're kind of doing the same old same with him. I actually called a whole series of plays. I mean, the Steelers literally run 4 plays consistently. It's a bubble screen, a little off-tackle handoff out of shotgun formation, a pick play, and go deep. That's their offense when Ben was in there. So it was frustrating to watch as a fan, but you see a spark of energy when it comes to Mason Rudolph coming in. The same thing with the Oshkosh Titans. For some reason, at the beginning of the game, they went back to doing dual quarterback to find out who their quarterback is. And I thought it was abundantly clear in the first game of the year who their quarterback was.
Yeah,
it was Berghammer.
Yeah. Yep.
And so they went drive by drive in the beginning of the game, which, you know, really turned the tide of the game in terms of establishing that first half of offense. There was no way to find a good rhythm because they were doing one drive to this quarterback, one drive to this quarterback, and never letting that quarterback get the flow of the game, especially Berghammer being a freshman.
True freshman, if I recall properly, correct?
Yep. So
yeah, I mean, I think when we were up there 2 weeks ago now, I thought it was pretty clear who quarterback was. Obviously, the first game we had to do a dual quarterback and figure out who our guy was.
But there was a definite
like you
spark.
mentioned, that there was that spark that provided that spark, and I mean it goes back to pretty much any team. I mean the Browns had that spark last year, and this Monday night game coming up is when Baker came in and provided the spark and got us over the winning ways. So we both thought Berghammer was the starter and ready to go, and if he don't start next week, there's some issues.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he made it a lot. I mean, it was abundantly clear who moved the ball. I mean, we're coming back from Oshkosh, and we had 7 guys in the car. 2 of us watched the game.
Yeah, I mean they could seriously be 0-2 right now almost.
Yeah, I definitely think Little Larry, the coach, brought some points to the game. Just our presence alone, even though the guys that we brought with us stayed out in the tailgate, I think just our presence alone got us over the hump, got us loud, got us proud, and got us a couple points. But looks like we tightened up I mean, it was a very evenly matched game in terms of first downs, time of possession, and yardage. Obviously, running the wing tee, it was hard for Oshkosh to prepare for on a short week.
It's always hard to prepare for.
Yep, and so they ran the ball very well against us, but they never passed the ball. So if you look at the total offense, it was 421 Oshkosh to 265 for Salisbury. So and they ran for 210 yards.
I think that's one of the things Oshkosh is lacking right now is that running game and getting that
100%.
going. I think that would open up the passing game even more for Berghammer. If I recall properly, I think the starting running back for Oshkosh, I forget his name off the top of my head, but I think he averaged below 1 yard a carry
I believe
on like 14
so.
attempts, or something like that. So
Yeah, he had 13 attempts for 0.8 yards.
yeah, so I mean that's one of their bread and butters in the past of being
Yeah.
able to pound the ball, get the lead, milk the clock, pass it when they can, and being efficient at that because the running game's open. So
I think also they're going to get the running game going. I mean, it's probably early on. They're starting to figure out what kind of team they are, and I think it's a scheme thing, right? It might be, maybe this running back needs to run with the quarterback under center. Maybe he needs to have a little motion to get his feet going, and he can't run from a shotgun position or something like that. So it's a feeling out thing. I mean, they're all their skill players are freshmen and sophomores that we saw, other than their tight end, who I think really took over the game for him in the fourth quarter. That set him up for this comeback. I mean, going into the fourth quarter, I think they were down 24-0.
24-0. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
That's when you finally turned it on.
Well, I turned it on in the second half. So I turned it on right in the third quarter. I think I saw the field goal, and then they went on there. But then, but they came storming back. I mean, Berghammer was throwing the ball. At that point, you had to throw the run game out of the window, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to throw it out the window and just air it out and go for it. I think I saw a little different spark with them after it went down 24-0 as well on that hurry up tempo. Yeah, it's just different lifestyle, and that's what sparked them.
Is that sustainable though? Can you run 2-minute offense all game, or is that going to put too much pressure on your defense?
It's sustainable as long as you're moving the football and moving the chains and being efficient with it. There's a difference between not being able to run it properly, aka Indiana, and those teams weaker in the Big Ten and other conferences. But I mean, if you look at Ohio State and those teams, I mean, they're efficient, doing the hurry up 2-minute no huddle, not a true no huddle, but an RPO hurry up offense. If you're efficient with it, you can be deadly.
Yeah.
And that's something that Oshkosh hasn't really done in the past because they've relied on those running backs and the offensive lines, but we may be changing.
Yeah.
Maybe a different Oshkosh team coming up.
Well, with the young talent, I think the coaching staff needs to change a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to adapt sometimes to your team. I see it all the time, and coaches don't try to adapt to their players, and you got to be able to adapt to who you have on your roster.
I think that's easier said than done when it comes to high school, right? Because at least in college, you're recruiting the players that fit your scheme for the most part.
Yeah, in high school, I mean, you're just getting whoever wants to play football, and you're just trying to teach them what you want to do, and you can't really adapt to what they are truly. But I mean, if you have a big horse running back, of course you're going to run the football every play almost. But yeah, I mean, it's very hard in high school. But college, I mean, like you said, you're recruiting who you want, and you're building that team and the players around that. So.
And that's one of the things I watched, I listened to this week was a podcast that had Greg Cosell on, NFL Films producer. And that guy knows film, right? And he said one of the things for an NFL offense coordinator, defense coordinator, but mostly towards the offense is the difference between a good quarterback and a great quarterback really comes down to the offensive coordinator. So a good quarterback and a great quarterback can both make that single read, that offense coordinator sets them up, picks the correct play where the first option is the guy they're going to throw to. Every NFL quarterback can make that throw. What separates the Joe Schmoes from Tom Brady is the fact that Tom Brady can go through his progression and throw it to number 4 and number 5 within 2 to 3 seconds. So in college, it makes it difficult because I would like to get a grade on the offense coordinators to see how many times the first or second read were targeted and passed to in the passing game to kind of take the game out of the quarterback's
definitely be
hand.
very interesting.
So that's one of the things I want to get maybe the coach's opinion on the next time we get him when we get Little Three's company on this.
What did Coach have to say about the game last Saturday?
Said it's rough. I mean, he has to go to the playbook. I mean, it's put up or shut up now. They have to win the WEAC. That's the only way right now they're going to get in the playoffs. The at-large bid is gone. If you lose to a Division III opponent that's outside of your conference, and you don't win your conference, there's no way you're getting into the Division III football playoff. So, luckily for him, the way that it works out now, they play a team from Alabama. They have a bye week, and then it's WEAC from here on out, from the rest of the season. So what he said he's seen from the big three, which are Stout, La Crosse, and then Whitewater, is Stout and La Crosse have pretty much pushed the game into overtime. Haven't really blown out teams on offense, so it's going to be a tight game. And then Whitewater has looked, for being the number 3, number 4 team in the country, has been really unimpressive. So that's
and they get Stout right after that bye week, so
yeah,
that's kind of going to help them. I mean, even though they're on the road for that game, but then like you said, La Crosse is the other decent opponent right now in the WEAC, so they got to go on the road with them, and then they end with Whitewater at home.
Yeah, the 3 big ones. I mean, you're going to learn from the Stout and La Crosse game if they have a shot for the playoffs, because it could come down to week 10, beat Whitewater, and you're in the playoffs. That's basically what it comes down to.
I think if it comes down to week 10, Larry, if it's do or die, I think we may be making a trip.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it too, this week is essentially a preseason week now, because you've already thrown playoffs out the window and as an out-large bid. So if they want to run that duo quarterback again and really figure out who is your starter, this is the last week you do it.
I don't even think we do that. I think you got to turn the keys to Berghammer. I think you got to try to get the running game for sure going this week. Try to do some read options, some RPO options off of him, because we saw he can run the football too. He had a couple decent runs up there when we were up there, so be very interesting to see. Coach Cerrone's been around long enough.
Yep.
He knows it's go time, and we've hearing animated before. I think he's going to have the boys turning here soon, and I truly think this week you're going to see Berghammer the whole entire game, unless it gets ugly on one side or either way, and then get the running game going this week.
Well, Berghammer ran 4 times for -3 yards in the last game, so he really didn't rely on.
That was sacks.
Yeah, but I mean,
where you have to throw the football at that time. Yeah.
And so
you have to throw the football that late in the game. So, I mean, I don't think he was looking to run it. I think he was looking to pass it, and the pocket collapsed on him.
Yep, and I think also one thing to note is that they had a huge injury last week, and it was a torn ACL from a true freshman, I believe. That was an absolute stud
on the field.
Yeah, the coach said probably the best athlete they had on the field. So definitely a huge loss there, and you could kind of see it when they were trying to do those reverse plays or just a sweep. They didn't have the speed that I think he would provide, that extra gear. They
even did the reverse pass play that Coach A. Archer said that that kid was going to be the thrower on that. So they did late in the game. I think they did on the 2-point.
On the 2-point conversion. I thought it was. I thought they were getting a little too
carried
fancy.
away.
I think they're
especially on a 2-point play. I mean, it's 3 yards away. Let's go right at them and
see what
pound
happens.
it in. Yeah,
because they scored right off of a reverse, right? They scored off of a reverse, and then they came back and did a reverse pass and tried to hit the tight end. And I think it just got a little too cute.
Yeah.
I think at that time
you learn from it and you move on.
Yeah, it didn't cost them a game. I mean, it was just a 2-point conversion, but I think they could have saved that play for later on in the game for a home run.
Correct. Yeah,
and get 6 points out of it, and then live or die off of what you have down in the end zone for the 2-point conversion. So, real quick before we touch on the game, let's get away from football for a second. I want to see Indians. Where are we looking?
It's bad news right now. It's bad news in Cleveland right now, buddy. A lot of injuries lately. A lot of guys not coming back yet. Kind of hurts us. I'm not giving an excuse, but kind of hurts us. The Clippers are playing for the national title tomorrow night in AAA. So we haven't.
Is that at Columbus?
No, that's actually at a neutral site, and it's down Nashville, Tennessee this year.
Nice.
Memphis, sorry, not Nashville.
So
down there,
how does AAA? How does that get handled? I mean, you have a team that your pro team is fighting for a wild card spot, and then you have your AAA team who's playing for the biggest game of the year. So, how does the
on the last day of the
handle it?
minor league? On the last day of the minor league schedule, that was 3 weeks ago, I do believe. The MLB rosters expand, and you're able to call up 8 to 10 guys, if I recall properly. Those guys can come up and play for the remaining of the season.
Sure.
If you make the playoffs, they can't play unless they were on the 40-man roster initially to begin the year. So the Indians have been in a tough pickle right now because we haven't really tried to call up a lot of guys, tried to be successful down at the AAA level, from what I've heard, and keep our good prospects down there. I don't think we've hardly called up anybody. I know we just called up our best pitching prospect from Columbus. He started the third game of the IL, so he wasn't going to pitch in the championship. So we went ahead and called him up.
Just to get that playoff experience-esque experience for the players?
No. I mean, we need these guys to make a push for Cleveland. I mean, we're banged up, bruised. I mean, we're down 2 starting pitchers.
You're back 2 games, right? Or a game and a half.
Game and a half back of the wild card, 4.5 back from the Twins, so out of the Central. So I think the Central's out of the running. Now you're just looking at the wild card, and it's pretty much coming down to us in Tampa Bay. And this is the big week. I looked a little bit ago, and we got the White Sox coming up, and Tigers first, and then the White Sox, and they got the Yankees and the Red Sox. So
how many series are left between full playoffs? 2 or 3?
13 more days.
13 more days, so that would be probably 2 more series, I would think.
About 4 more series.
4? You play 4?
Because you got three game series. You play every day except for one day out of the week, so you're about a four more series is left.
I'm going to confirm. And then on the other side,
I don't think Cleveland has an off day though.
Yeah, you got 4 series. So you got Tigers, Phillies, White Sox, Nationals. So really, the Nationals are really the only problem that you have there.
Yeah, and hopefully by then, hopefully you can clinch because, like I said, Tampa Bay plays the Red Sox and the Yankees in there, and Toronto. So
yeah, because Nationals are fighting for a wild card spot.
Correct.
As well, and then you got the Brewers and the Cubs. That's going to be interesting to watch. That's going to be some good baseball right there.
It's definitely crazy when you play 162 games and it comes down the final 2 weeks still, or even the last day of the season.
Yeah.
So
most definitely.
Definitely crazy. So it'll be tight waters for the next 13 days.
Jay Halter 10 said Kluber ? One of your banged up boys, huh?
Kluber was trying to make a comeback. He was supposed to do a relief appearance for actually a start for Columbus, which he did. They pulled him after the first inning and had some oblique issues still. So we kind of shut him down. I don't even think he's going to be ready, so we got to go in without him. Carrasco's in the bullpen, who was a starter now, coming back from the leukemia. Pitching lights out for us. We've lost our closer for the season probably. So it's tough sledding right now. if we make the playoffs, Terry Francona needs to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're half these guys in the lineup right now. I don't even know.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
I mean, that's what I wondered too. Is if you're out of the playoff race, are you essentially just bringing up your talent and see how they handle themselves?
I mean, if we get eliminated from the playoffs here, I mean, obviously it's going to be pretty much the last series if you would be eliminated. But I think he would bring up a lot more guys just to get him that experience and shut a couple of guys down for the rest of the season. So
sure. What do you think?
We'll
What's
see.
your prediction? They getting in?
If I would have to say right now, I think we sneak in. I think it's going to come down to the last day of the season, and we got to win to get in, and we will.
Yeah, it's coming.
That's what I think it's going to be because Tampa Bay has a tough road ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to look at
hopefully the
Tampa
Yankees
Bay's.
put it to them. And I mean, if I was the Yankees and stuff, I would much rather knock out Tampa Bay because Cleveland's banged up. You want to knock out Tampa Bay, who's a threat.
So it's kind of interesting. So Tampa Bay has they have 3 series left, one of which with the Yankees being a 2-game series. So They have 4 against Red Sox, 2 against Yankees, and then Blue Jays to end the year.
Yeah, and Cleveland plays on those because Cleveland's a game and a half back from them. So I think we can make up the full game and a half as long as we just win on the days they don't play.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun baseball to watch because I'm curious. I'm going to look now. I want to see if the Cubs play the Milwaukee Brewers to end the season. They do not. That would be good baseball if you had to
That
watch.
would have been a classic.
Yeah, so they have the Reds, St. Louis, Pirates, and Cardinals. Again,
Gotcha.
so they have Cardinals 2 more times before the end of the year.
Ooh.
So that's tough baseball for the Cubbies.
Yep. So it'll definitely be interesting over the next week and a half or so here. So
Milwaukee's exciting to watch, but God, do I hate Ryan Braun.
now losing Yelich is going to hurt him too. So
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that.
he's done for the season. Tore up his leg. So
Yep, probably part of next year as well.
yeah, probably the first month and a half, probably 2 months, somewhere around that neighborhood. So
All right, let's get to Monday Night Football. I know we're getting close. The game starts at 8:20, correct?
yeah,
What do you think? I mean, obviously you got some huge news earlier this week with Sam Darnold going out.
I don't think that really matters. I mean,
It doesn't matter. He's one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. He's just been on a terrible team.
yeah, but hey, you still got to play the game of football. I mean, the only reason why Cleveland lost week 1, I mean, was penalties, and our defense was ferocious. We couldn't get any push up the middle. Our offense line was garbage. If you have bad line play on offense and defense, you're going to lose in the NFL.
Which is crazy because you would look at what's the best thing that Cleveland has going for you, and you would say your defensive line.
Defensive line and linebacker unit.
Yep.
And they didn't show up, and we got hit in the mouth. I think I didn't hear much out of Cleveland this week up in the Browning neighborhood. So hopefully that was a good thing of these guys nosediving into things, being leaders. That's one of the things they really said after last week's loss is we're going to find out who the true leaders are. And I think Baker and those guys were true leaders, and we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah.
If they only win by a touchdown or something tonight, it's another bad week in my opinion. And if they would end up losing tonight,
I mean,
disastrous start.
I think one of the hard things I think Cleveland made all the right moves except for one, and it could be the most important one. It's Freddie Kitchens is a big question mark to me.
I mean, it comes with the territory.
Especially when you show up, the first game of the year, you have 18 penalties for 200 yards. That's coaching.
That's been the Browns for the past couple of years. I mean, not that ridiculous high, but that's been them the past couple of years is stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think penalties can be cleaned up. That's just part of the game, and That's just focus and playing smart football, and that can be cleaned up.
Yeah.
The other things cannot be cleaned up, play calling and all that stuff. I mean, those are in your playbook, and that's what you're running. So I think hiring Freddie was the move for Baker Mayfield more than anything, and that's who they knew was their franchise quarterback. So they went out, they made sure he stayed for Baker.
Well, he's not going to get a head coaching job anywhere else, right? So keep him on as an offense coordinator if you think he's the man.
I think he would have got a head coaching job. I truly believe that, just because how much the Browns showed improvement after we fired Numbnuts. And he took over as the whole entire shaboodle. And I mean, it was night and day.
Well, you have Josh McDaniels, right, came back to in New England after he failed as a coach to go back to Tom Brady. And
he didn't fail as a coach. He kind of said, yeah, I'm going to go, and then say, nah, I'm not going to go.
You think?
Yeah. So, hey, I think he would have got a job if we didn't keep him, and I believe in him. I mean, these players get paid millions, and it's getting ridiculous of the salary cap and salaries, but these guys got to go perform and play. I mean, it was quite comical as I was watching Countdown before getting on here. Our wonderful Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Mixon, running back, called out every fan that left early and said, come to open tryout tomorrow.
Uh-oh, could we have another, what is it, Marky Mark situation? What was that guy, that movie?
It was like, oh my gosh, dude, just shut up and go play.
Yeah.
They should boo your ass. I mean, you got destroyed at home against the San Francisco 49ers.
And you punch women, Joe Mixon.
Yeah. It's like, come on, bud, give me a break.
You shouldn't even be in the league, in my opinion, but what can you do?
But I think the Browns, I mean, I think we're going to come out different team tonight, fired up, take it right down the field like we did week 1 and score. And I think the defense is going to be flying tonight. I truly do. I mean, I'm not giving the crutch of just playing a backup quarterback. I mean, you still got to go perform, and I think the Browns are up to the challenge.
What's your prediction on the game?
I'm going to say 28-3.
Wow, really handed it to them, huh?
That nice little padding lead, playing smart football. I'm going to go 5 penalties for the whole entire game as well for the Browns.
One of the things I find interesting, I'm looking at the stat line, right? And they have the Brownies at a 6.5 points favorite on the game. However, they, as the matchup predictor, they have the Jets winning the game 60% of the time.
Oh, it's comical.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at when I look at the Jets, I said season's over.
I truly believe, too, going back to Freddie Kitchen as head coach, if we lose tonight, he could be on the hot seat already. That's how desperate Cleveland is. You got to believe in your regime, and your GM, and your owners, and that's why they brought him here. And we got players to produce here, and if you're not getting wins, you're adiosing.
You know what? I want to answer a couple questions from the fans here. So obviously, when I started the podcast, it was bright outside. I had the window open. I had the sun shining in, and then now I'm just too lazy to stand up and turn on the light switch. So that's number one.
You're a little dark on your end.
Yep. So I could turn it on, but we're wrapping up, so it's not a big deal. Also, they said does Freddie Kitchens know Sean McVay? Because pretty much if you've kissed Sean McVay's dick in the last 5 years, you're going to get a job in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie came from a good background, so he came from some good head coaches coming up through, so it'll be interesting.
And then finally, they pointed out that Josh McDaniels failed in Denver.
Yeah, he failed in Denver, and then he tried to go to Indianapolis as well and said, screw you, after like 2 hours on the job.
Yeah, because why would you leave Super Bowl championships? That's what I
Yeah,
don't
you-
understand. Why do these guys? Why in an offense coordinator, especially in the NFL, you're making great money. You're learning under the best coach of all time.
It's like who's the defense coordinator coaches for the Lions now?
Yep, Pat.
He left them.
Yep, Patrick.
Right.
Pat something.
Yeah, I mean he left them, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? It's like just stay there and go win Super Bowl rings left and right. That's why you're in the business.
I 100% agree, and they're making enough money. I mean, look at the defensive line coach for Ohio State, like Johnson.
Yeah,
He's been there for 18 years. And Larry Johnson's been with the Buckeyes for 18 years, and he
has it been 18 now?
It's very. I know it's between 15 and 20.
I don't think it is. Look it up. Look it up.
Jay Halderton, if you could do a little stat research for me, that would be great. I believe
Because he came from Penn State.
But Larry Johnson has been there for that many years.
I don't think so.
And he's not been. He doesn't want a D coordinator job. He gets year after year.
I'm going to say he's only been there 9 years.
Year after year, he gets the best talent in the world. 3 years, my ass. He hasn't been there 3 years. It's longer than that.
I'm telling you, dude, it's not no 18 like you're thinking. Because he came from Penn State, and Urban or one of those coaches brought him over from Penn State because he left right after the scandal.
Larry Johnson.
And Joe
left.
Paz, yeah, because he was there during the scandal, and it was a big thing about bringing him over because of him being a part of that scandal.
Trying to find.
I'm telling you, he hasn't been there long.
Larry Johnson.
If you're right over 15, I won't argue again with you.
2004. So he's 2014. Sorry, 2014 to present.
Yeah.
So 5
There you
years
go.
for the Buckeyes, and he was.
You can apologize now.
I apologize. So he's been a defensive line coach for 19 years.
Ever. Yeah, forever, because he was at Penn State prior to us.
Yes, he was a Penn State defensive line coach. Came to the Buckeyes and was a line coach the whole time there as well.
But we brought him over. That was one of Urban's hires when he first took the job, I do believe, or year 2 under Urban. And we brought him just because of his recruiting ability, because he can flat out recruit. Urban's already said he's the best recruiter in college football. He just walks into a home and he gets a kid.
I mean, yeah, it shows on the defensive line, right?
Yeah.
And then Buckeyes have looked incredible so far this season.
But
But they
mean,
haven't
you
played anybody.
Correct. Now, I mean, yeah, moving the football and putting up points on the board, I mean, that's one thing. But let's see if we can do it against tough competition. And this week's going to be a slaughter fest.
Yep.
And
Urban said it best. He said, "What you need to do is you need to challenge your guys in the practice on Tuesday's practice, because the best talent they play each and every week on both sides of the ball is themselves.
Yeah.
Until we definitely get into the deep in the season.
And just released today. I mean, we got a trap game coming up in 2 weeks. I mean, we're headed to Lincoln, Nebraska, and playing a night game.
Yep.
They made that a 7:30 kick today, so I mean that's going to be a nice little test. I think that's going to be our first true test.
Was it the last time we played there during a night game? Was that Hail
We
Mary
lost.
pass?
Yep.
And I was like, the guy who caught the ball was a nobody, and I was like, he's probably never going to buy a drink in Lincoln, Nebraska ever again.
To me, you threw away the record. You threw out the records when you play night games, especially against good teams and history teams like Nebraska.
And
I mean, those guys.
stadiums too.
Yeah, I mean, loud and student base is good. That's going to be a tough one. I mean, Cincinnati was at home. I mean, granted, that was supposed to be a little tough one, but it was at our place, so you can't judge anything on that at all. So I think Nebraska is going to be our first true test of going on the road and playing. Just because Indiana's just their fan base is god awful.
Yep. And then
there's no noise there.
And then so looking into the future, next week, the week after, I want to get the coach on. I want to do all three of us get the coach on, and because that's going to be their bye week. going to give us an opportunity to talk to him about the NFL. He'll have a chance to watch some of the games, talk about Division I football, and then where they stand going into the WEAC and getting them ready for that game.
Yeah, hopefully he can spill some beans on the team. And I know it's tough of letting people know what they're doing and stuff. I get it, and hopefully provide some intel for us of how the team's looking and how guys are looking and what they're thinking of the WEAC coming up.
Very good. All right. Well, I'm gonna end it like we always end it. I'm gonna thank. Actually, I want to thank Greg Butters for setting up a nice little overlay for the game last week. We're gonna.
That's nice.
We're gonna make that happen on this stream next week.
There we go.
And then I just want to thank the effort that he put in. And then, this show ran by our fans. So if you haven't had an opportunity, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, watch as much Little Larry the Coach as you can, get that viewership up, tell everybody you know. And then, as always, I want to thank Steamhammer62. And good luck to your Browns tonight.
Let's go, baby.
We're gonna talk about sports. Little Larry and the Coach. We're gonna talk about sports. Little Larry and the Coach. We're gonna talk about sports. Things like chicken wings. It's Little Larry and the Coach.
Later, boys.